chase. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, we've got our similar posing going on. It's the wonderful Valerie Tosi.
Hey, friends. What's going on?
Hey.
Friends. Just you.
It's just me. It's been, I'm very excited to have you on. Valerie and we've known each other for a long time. This is crazy.
Yeah. I think you're probably one of the first people I met when I started doing stand-up because you were running mics and stuff. And then I kind of started running mics. And yeah, so it's been, probably like 8 or 9 years now?
Sounds about right. Yeah, because I met you pretty quick after I moved to LA. I was here. Yeah, it sounds about right. Like because I moved to here 10 years ago. And yeah, 8 or 9 years sounds pretty much right on the dot.
Yeah, my brain, it's a real prison when it comes to other stuff.
It's okay. My brain is a prison now, thanks to this podcast, for terrible movies like Welcome to Marwen, which is the film that you have forced me to watch today.
I wonder if this is the worst movie you've had to watch for this. Like, I'm curious if it took the cake or if there's other ones that have, kind of surpassed it.
There are worse movies than this that I've watched for this show. This is actually in terms of from like a filmmaking perspective and a craft perspective, this is shockingly okay given what I was reading about it. But in terms of plot and story and also what I know about the real story of having watched Marwen Call years and years and years ago, this really is it was a rough, confusing watch.
Woo boy. It's so okay. So truth be told, I remember the trailer coming up for this movie and I remember going, this looks like absolute shit. I was like, this is going to be awful. And then I never watched the full thing through. I always saw like bits and pieces of it.
Uh-huh.
And so I was
smart
like,
move.
Truly. And then when you asked me to do your podcast, I was like, what movie do I like hate? And I kept going through my mind about movie. And I was like, I don't even know if there's any I really have real strong feelings about. And I was like, you know what? I should watch this movie and see how bad it is. And so I finally watched the whole thing. And I am here proudly to report that my instincts were correct.
It's a good call. Yeah, this is a 2018 American drama film directed by Robert Zemeckis, co-written with Caroline Thompson, who is behind Edward Scissorhands and Corpse Bride and Nightmare Before Christmas. It's inspired by this great documentary, Marwen Call, from 2010. This is basically a fictionalized version of that story. It's Mark Hogenkamp is this artist. He's played by Steve Carell. He was beaten outside of a bar, lost all of his memories, and has used art and photography to sort of heal and try and turn his trauma into a form that he can understand and grapple with. And that is really
it sounds good on paper, man.
It's a great story on paper. There's a reason why the documentary, I think, is so good and affecting. And I really wish that they had just let the documentary be the only version of this story that existed. It came out, it was released on Christmas of 2018.
What a feel-good movie for Christmas.
What a feel-good movie. Who doesn't want to go see a movie with their family where Steve Carell is drawing giant anime-style boobs and
it's so
freaking out
so
Leslie
bizarre.
Mann.
It's so bizarre. Like you see like even just the movie poster looks unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
And the tag on it too is like, you can't put this hero in a box, and you're just like, fucking gross. Like, it's just also like they're calling him a hero, but he's not heroic. Like he went through something awful and is overcoming adversity and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like I think you get led into it, and especially with his outfit on the movie poster, you think he's going to be like a war vet. And there's like parts of that in there, but he isn't really a war vet. It's like all in his head. It's
Yeah.
so bizarre.
It's the way that he deals with his trauma of being attacked in real life and in the film is he creates this like fictional World War II era town in Belgium, and he plays. This is so weird to even like just because there's like 5 different layers of what's going on here. So he plays this version of himself who is a war hero who was a pilot and he got shot down by the Nazis. And he goes to this town where it's all a mostly female population. I think at the time it's all women, and now in real life it's been expanded to like 200 people. But it's a really the way that the movie plays it is there's these animated sequences and then there's these real life sequences, and the animated sequences are Mark's imagination of what's going on that he's photographing, and it is so tonally strange. That's the only, I think, the only effective word to describe what's going on with the tone in the animated sections. It's too flippant, it's too fun, it's too action movie for a overtly like serious drama that it just doesn't really feel like it knows what it is.
No, it really doesn't. And like, normally you feel like sometimes films get really sweaty in the exposition up top where you're just like, all right, calm down. But this one, you're just into it and you're like, what is even happening? Like, it's so long before they kind of even really tell you what's going on. And there's certain things where I'm like, was that necessary for the film? Like him watching porn and you're just like, is this is this so everybody knows that like he's into women even though he wears women's shoes? Like I don't understand like why that was important to the story.
I guess I think that they assumed that every person who saw this movie was going to be as dumb as the dudes who almost beat Mark Hogenkamp to death outside of a bar and be like, hey, just so you know, all right, this guy likes to fuck women. Just because he wears heels doesn't mean that he's not straight as an arrow, everybody, okay? Get your shit together.
Be cool, man. Be cool.
Be cool.
There's so many like weird inconsistencies and things that just don't make sense. Like in the beginning when he's the animated character and his plane crashes and he finds like an overturned vehicle with a suitcase with a bunch of women's clothing and a pair of shoes. And he tore up his shoes because they caught on fire from the crash.
Yeah.
So he sees a pair of women's heels and he's like, I'm going to put these on so I have shoes. And it's like, you mean to tell me that the person that was in that car was a woman with big ass enough feet that you can fit your own feet into these shoes? I was like, already, I'm like, this is insane.
The famously lady Nazi soldiers who were running around Belgium in heels on the front lines.
Famously. And part of me is like, I'm watching this movie and I'm like, are we sure Tarantino didn't direct this? There's way too many people in this movie. Like,
this is a movie I had no desire to watch this. It sounds like America didn't either. It got $13.1 million return on a budget anywhere between $39 to $50 million.
Yeah, woof.
It's one of those. It just doesn't make sense to me why they felt like this was you put it great, a feel good holiday movie. What even led you to potentially like you saw clips of this for the first time? How did they even come into your field of vision?
I think I was at my parents' house and it just was like on in the background. Like nobody, you know what I mean? It was just kind of on, like nobody was invested in it, but I was like, oh, this is that movie that I remember seeing the trailers for that I told myself, I don't care how good Movie Pass is. I'm not wasting a movie on this film. And I just was watching it and I was like, this is crazy because even sitting down and watching the whole thing, it still doesn't quite make sense, but to even just see pieces of it is even weirder. And it's just it. And like we said, on paper, it makes sense, especially because it's a star-studded cast. There's so many huge names in this film. Like, can we take a moment and just poor Janelle Monáe, who probably signed on to this film, so stoked to do something with Steve Carell, and this is the shit that she got handed.
Poor Janelle Monáe. She on the up and up career-wise, acting and singing, and gets the opportunity to work with not only Steve Carell, you're working with Robert Zemeckis, one of the most acclaimed directors of the past couple decades, and this is where you are.
You're a steamy shit sandwich.
you're a doll for most of it, and also a sexy gun-toting doll.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
And like, there's so many things wrong with this movie. Like, what I literally wrote was, this feels like, because it's Zemeckis and even the music, I don't know if the composer is the same, but it feels like play school Forrest Gump.
It does a little bit. I know Alan Silvestri did the score, and I know he's worked a lot with Zemeckis. He's done, actually, he's literally done all of his feature films ever since Back to the Future.
Okay.
Which
so yeah,
also, can we talk about the weird Back to the Future reference that gets into this movie somehow?
Wait, which one? I don't know if I remember.
So
where?
There's this, at the very end, there's this action sequence that's animated where Mark and Deja, who's like the Belgian witch, they're in a DeLorean. They're in a time machine.
Yes.
And it flies away and it does the little blue flame things like in Back to the Future. And how do you, as a director, feel like it's a good idea to, in a movie that is about a man with PTSD trying to reclaim his life and become confident again, think, you know what's going to be great here is if I throw in a little sneaky in-joke to one of my most acclaimed movies, as a contrast to how terrible this movie is.
Part of me is like, did he do it just to remind people that he is capable of good things?
He must be.
He also, and this must have been such an ego blast for him too, because not only did he direct it, but he produced it and he wrote it. So you're just like, oh man, you were all up in there and it was still just so bad. And like, there's so many things that drove me crazy. Like, I don't know if you felt this way, but there's so much lead up to the hearing. Are you going to go? Are you going to go? Blah, blah, blah. And then they never showed the sentencing. I was like, he read his statement and then they never even said what happened to those dudes.
Yeah. They just show him having his moment in court, but you don't get to see any sort of nothing plays out. You don't get any resolution. There's no closure.
I was like, are you kidding me? After all this, we don't even get to see that moment of like, you know, the lawyers being like, congratulations, and like everybody cheer, you know, like all that. We didn't get any of that. And like that drove me nuts. And then also Leslie Mann's shitty Nazi adjacent boyfriend showing up. That was like Chekhov's gun with it never going off, where I was like, this guy's going to cause some serious damage. And like, he was shitty and obviously like triggered Steve Carell's character, but there was never like, I thought there was going to be like a pot boiling over situation where something was really going to happen.
Yeah.
And it just never did.
I thought we were in real life going to get somebody, you know, I was legitimately nervous when he pulled up and his car bumps right against the Jeep with all the dolls in it. And I was like, oh, he's going to come and he's going to fuck up the town of Marwen.
That's what I thought for sure.
And then sure enough, nothing happens. We only get the doll version of him as a Nazi as part of this big final sequence. But this is part of the tonal problems with the movie too that I had, is it's all, you know, all of the stuff that happens in the animated sequences is cartoony, is over the top. And the stuff that plays out in real world is pretty normal for most of the movie. And then the boyfriend shows up and the real world is tainted by this same level of insane over the top cartoonishness that has been in the animated stuff the whole time. And it just, there's no reason for it. There's no reason for you to have a character who is that cartoonishly evil in real life to where he's like yelling in German and doing Sig Heils at Steve Carell's character on a porch. There's no need for that. Why would you do
None.
that?
None. And you're looking at Leslie Mann and you're just like, okay. And she's like weird too, where you're like, this bitch collects teapots. Like, are you fucking real right now? And then she's like, I'm a vet tech. I was like, oh, you're a vet tech and not a single pet in your house? Not a cat?
Not
Nothing?
even a
I was
picture of a
like,
cat? Not even
no,
any sort of memorabilia?
yes. I was like, get out of here. This was so sloppy.
I really, really had a hard time with this movie. It's so on the nose and expository, but it is also it's done in a way where everything feels like it's out of place order-wise. Like you don't
Mhm.
none of the information that's revealed to you as an audience member feels like it comes at the right time or in a way that feels like it is in line with the theme of the story.
It truly feels like somebody threw the script up in the air and then picked up the pages and just shot it however they landed.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like
Playing a real game of 52 pickup with this man's real life and trauma.
yeah, and I gotta say it too. Like, listen, I love Steve Carell, but he was not right for this role, in my opinion. It's really distracting, and like it just I couldn't get out of it knowing that it's him because he still ends up being like the parts where he is the cartoon or the animated part of him. He still has like kind of smarmy Steve Carell, like ripping bad puns
Hmm.
self. And it
Don't
like,
cry. I guess you can cry over spilled milk.
yeah, like, oh my God, I know. Like just all that stuff is like, I don't know. It felt, I feel like if they cast somebody that maybe actually was like adjacent to the queer community or in the queer community or like just somebody that it took me out of it knowing that it was him. I was like, man, I was like, it's already weird to watch Steve Carell in a drama, but to watch him as a slightly melted doll is like even worse.
Yeah. Is there anybody who comes to mind who you would have cast in this instead of Steve Carell? I'm
That's a
trying to
great.
think of who would be good for it.
Oh yeah, right?
Because it's got to be somebody who's a little bit older. I think
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe I mean if the movie got made today, they would probably like age Harry Styles up and try and make him be a dramatic actor again, even though he's
Oh
clearly a
God,
career
that
path that they should just stop trying to push him down.
yeah. I know I'm trying to think of who I would cast. I'll have to think about it because it feels wrong, but there wasn't anybody that I was like, this is absolutely who it should be. And I know it's gonna come to me, and then I'm gonna be like, we need to re-record. I'm just kidding. But it is like it's so unsettling. Though there's one line in the film that I did go, oh hell yeah. And it was the only line in the movie that I was like on board. And it's when Steve Carell says, women are the saviors of the world. And I was like, hey, I was like, now we're talking. And then it went back to absolute
Now
shit.
I
I was like,
feel good. I finally got my feel good moment.
okay.
There's one other problem that I have with this movie, and this is going sort of in line with the tone stuff as well. There's you mentioned the score, and I do think the score has some moments of like, all right, it's trying to be as good as it can be in the moment with like whatever's going on. Sometimes it's a little bit hopeful, sometimes it's a little sad, sometimes it's action packed in line with what's going on screen. The needle drops themselves, the actual like soundtrack songs in the movie,
So it feels
I
so weird.
hated all of it.
Oh, all of it. It was so bad. Like it felt so out of place because you did have these like intricate scores that went along, and then all of a sudden there was just like random jams that they just threw in. Like,
Yeah. Why are they throwing in all sorts of random like pop songs and stuff from the jukebox, your favorite hits from the 80s, 90s and today that you heard on Jack FM? Why does that make its way into this movie? It doesn't
yeah,
make sense.
it's very bizarre. Like there's I mean, but then again, nothing makes sense in this movie. And this was even a detail that I thought about because I know you mentioned the original documentary Marwen Cole. So as he stated was that it was based off of people's names, that it's like it's based off of Mark, Wendy,
Hmm.
and then in the documentary, it's supposed to be off somebody named Colleen.
Yes.
So I'm like, why did they change it to Nicole? Like, did you guys think that was going to be the thing to make it better?
I guess. I mean, this
They kept
is
making a big ass deal about her not having an E on her name, and I was like, no one cares.
they're doing the thing they feel like Hollywood has to do a lot of times, which is like we have to have some sort of a romantic plot to every movie that we do. You don't need a romantic plot for a movie about a guy who's dealing with his PTSD.
Yeah. In fact, it took me out of it. Like, and him proposing to her with a purple heart after knowing her for like 48 hours. It
Weird.
was just so bizarre.
I don't buy it.
No, of course not. Oh, yeah.
I also
Not
don't.
great.
I don't believe that the lady who works in the kitchen with him, Isa Gonzalez's character, I don't believe that she wears basically the same outfit every day. I don't buy that
no.
Merritt Weaver's character wears basically the same outfit every day. I don't. There's so much about this movie that I can't buy into. It's so ridiculous for a movie that has such a serious subject matter.
Mhm.
It is insanely ridiculous. It is so. Oh, I'm so mad at this movie. I
know.
am just like, I know what the story is. Everybody should just go watch the documentary instead.
Yeah. It's like, this is just like but again, it's, Hollywood loves to do remakes and reboots and things. And you're just like, nobody was asking for this. Nobody needed it. And it was so like okay. Did you pick this up? Cause it was a quick little blip. And did you catch the thing with Deja, the like blue fairy like chick?
Yeah.
That there's like a part where Steve Carell's sleeping and she's like floating around and he's dreaming or whatever. And quickly, it's so easy to miss. She like turns into one of those little pills that he takes and then it's gone. And it's the only time that it happens. And so you're like, oh, so the pills are doing that. Like the pills are supposed to be her.
Mhm.
But it's so quick and easy to miss that I'm like, that you guys, of all the shit you put in this movie, you just glossed over that so bad.
Yeah.
I'm like,
There's also, because there's one other line where he says something to the effect of, "Oh, you are my addiction. You are my traitor." After he pulls off her glove and you see the swastika tattoo on the doll's arm, and he goes, "You're my addiction. You've been sabotaging me all along." I'm at a loss.
I know.
Why? Why? Why?
Why?
I was reading reviews of this movie when I was watching it because I was very concerned and curious about what people thought of this. Obviously, it didn't do great at the box office. It got a really bad slate on Rotten Tomatoes, pretty critically panned. 35% currently. Metacritic has 40 out of 100. And, there are some people who shockingly, critically, still like this movie, like Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. He gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Who paid that man off?
He's shitting on the grave of Ebert. Leave it to the innovative and greatly skilled veteran director Robert Zemeckis to deliver a beautiful and endearingly eccentric movie based on the life and imagination of Mark Hogenkamp. And leave it to the chameleon everyman Steve Carell to deliver a subtle, layered, empathetic, and memorable portrayal of Mark, both the man and the doll.
Okay. No. And it's one of those things I think too, where sometimes people, they let a director like Zemeckis kind of rest on their laurels a little bit, where it's like, yeah, of course he has this amazing body of work that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he's also allowed to make a bad film, and it's okay to say that it's a bad film. Like, I don't know if, if he was kind of just like, oh, well, I don't want to say anything, but it's like, no, it's a bad movie. It's okay to say it's a bad movie.
Yeah, you can say it's bad, and that's totally fine. I think, I am glad that in a movie like this, we don't have what Robert Zemeckis has done in the past, 10 years, where he's mostly doing like these uncanny valley animated movies. You get sort of half in, half out here. We know that it's action figures and dolls that he's using in these animated sequences, and at least we're not going full Polar Express level discomfort. Thank goodness. But this is a crazy thing too, and this is actually the first time I'm going down this avenue on the show because it felt so appropriate with this movie to talk about audience reviews because
Oh, yeah.
this does not do so hot on I googled it. It's got a 4.2 on Google audience rating.
Oh,
I'm just going to read. I would like to talk with you about some of these reviews of people who love this on Google.
if anybody loves it, I don't trust him.
This is somebody who gave it 4 stars. Chris Camerai. I did something that more people should do. I watched a movie of which I knew nothing about. I could only see the word Marwen at the time. My heart dropped a little when I saw it was Steve Carell. He's an excellent actor, but I'm just not always on board with the style of humor that goes into his movies. But then I was just confused why he looked so shiny, and I got invested in what was happening in the movie.
What a perfect way to put that. I gotta be honest. When I started it, I didn't realize that the opening sequence was him as a doll. I thought because of the way that they shot it, you can't really see him clearly in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So I thought he really was a war vet. And then all of a sudden you're like, why does he look glossy?
Yeah. When I downloaded this and I started watching it, I thought that I had downloaded like a bad version of the movie and it was starting in the middle. Because I was like, there's no way they're just going to jump right into him doing stuff with the dolls. That wouldn't make any sense. No, they're doing that? Oh, okay, great. Copy.
Yeah, I spent $3.99 on this movie that I will never get back.
Chris continues, for a bit, I didn't know if it was stop animated, CG, live action, and normally confusing your audience is a bad thing, but it created intrigue. I wanted to find out the answer.
Oh, God.
The most upsetting part of this man that plays with dolls story is that he isn't making a stop action movie or anything to share with other people. He's just trying to find a way to heal in a setting where he feels he has control. Why his, let's see, I don't care about this line. That's fine. The relational dynamics of his involvement with the new neighbor and his hobbyist friend are mostly delightful, and his courtroom engagement is obviously a real-life implementation of the battles he's fantasizing about. This is a fantastic movie, and if you like psychology, then you might even enjoy it.
No.
What does that mean? If you
What
like
therapist
psychology,
watched this in their downtime and they were like, you know what? The world needs this. This is how we explain PTSD. We're going to start showing it in college classes. And I'm like, yeah, because even on IMDb, it has a 6.2 and that feels generous.
Yeah.
Like,
the review closes with, because this is based off of real tragic events, it is hard to recommend as it gives the whole movie a dour taste. I enjoyed it and expect to do so again, but I can't recommend it to general audiences.
it's just not good. It's just not good.
It's just
There's
not
so
good.
many little weird things where you're just like, okay, it's meatball day. We're just gonna sit in the kitchen and fucking make meatballs. It's just so weird. It really is.
I appreciated that his lawyer knew it was Meatball Day, by the way. He's like, he knew when Meatball Day was. He knows Mark is bullshitting him about Meatball Day.
Also, that review that person that was like, he's not doing it except for himself to heal. I'm like, no, he did an art show. Did you not catch the art
this is
show?
his career. He's an artist professionally. I have one other review that really intrigued me from Mark Otney's.
Uh-oh, another Mark. Dueling Marks.
Dueling Marks. Romance, action, laughs. What more could you want from any movie? You should only take what professional movie critics have to say with a grain of salt. When Welcome to Marwen premiered for press reviews today, initial critiques flew quick and harsh, all too hurriedly denouncing Robert Zemeckis' superb new film as a major disappointment. But boy, those critics couldn't be more wrong. This movie is great. Marwen is a wonderful adventure fantasy drama. From its opening scene to its last, the film is chocked full of action figure fun. CHOCKED.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's not right. That feels like the PR company behind the movie was like, all right, we'll pay you $50 to write a positive review about this movie just to get the score up. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like.
And I think even more in that vein, we can tell what company he probably works for, at least what industry he's in with this next line. If
I
you've
can't
ever
wait.
loved playing with G.I. Joes, Barbies, dollhouse miniatures, or anything else to do with the ever-expanding 1 to 6 scale collecting and customizing hobby,
Oh,
then
there it
this
is.
film is for you.
I was like, you know about 6 scale, bro? Oh, okay.
So this is
Oh,
this is a guy who works at a hobby shop who's finally glad to feel seen on screen.
yeah. He's like, finally, something for me. Also, we can agree. Roberta and Mark, they totally fucked at the end,
Of course
right?
they did.
And I bet it was probably the weirdest, grossest sex on the planet.
Yeah, the last two scenes of the movie, for those of you who aren't going to watch it, and good for you, is Mark at his art show talking to Roberta and saying he would like to go out for sushi with her sometime. A nice little callback to a moment they had earlier in the movie. And they go, well, what if I don't like it? And Mark's like, it's okay, we'll try it together, something like that. And then he smiles, and then it cuts to a shot of Mark walking through the woods, wearing heels, carrying the Jeep behind him, and it just pans up to him, smiling as the sun sets. And I like to imagine that he was walking home. That is his walk of
His walk of
his
shame.
walk of shame moment. Though he's clearly not ashamed, he's proud. This is finally Mark finally coming into himself.
It's so bad. It's just so bad. Like, yeah. Nobody see this movie. We did it so you don't have to.
This is I think a great way to transition out of talking about this movie, which is, what do you think people should watch instead of Welcome to Marwen? Maybe another feel good movie. We're at the holidays. People want to go see stuff with their family. Welcome to Marwen's not it. What is?
No. Well, that's the thing. You've got the lead actor and the director both have such a vast body of work that there's so much to choose from. And I think, I even look too, because I'm like, I don't even feel bad talking ill of this movie, because Zemeckis currently has 25 projects in production, and like
Yep.
from various stages, and Corella's 19. So I was like, yeah, they're doing fine. But if I was going to recommend one, I feel like this movie, it wasn't on everybody's radar. Like, I know people really liked it, but I don't know if many people saw it. Was The Way, Way Back. Did you see that?
Oh, yes, I did see that, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I love that movie. For those that don't know, it has Sam Rockwell, Allison Janney, who's always a delight.
Mm-hmm.
Toni Collette's in it. It's really, really great.
Yes, Steve Carell gets to play an asshole, which is nice because
So fun. Yeah, he's a good asshole.
He's a good asshole. He knows how to play it right. I definitely think if we're gonna go with the flip side of talking about Robert Zemeckis's wonderful body of work previously, I mean, if you're looking for a good time, of course, Back to the Future will get you there, right? Academy Award nominated. And also a movie that I just found out is on Disney Plus, which makes a lot of sense, is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I think everybody should also watch if you haven't.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you want to see people and animation in the same film done right, then watch Roger Rabbit.
Mm-hmm. Watch both of those. Family friendly, good times. Everybody's gonna have fun watching it. Do not even let anybody come close to renting, buying, or streaming Welcome to Marwen, which is great because it's not streaming anywhere and it's only available for download. So don't waste your money. Don't waste your internet speed. Trust me and Valerie.
Yeah, it is weird with movies like this that are bad too, when you're like, you'd think they would be available on a Netflix or something, because I was like, oh, you're making people pay for this movie. You're not even getting eyes on it. Like, just in general, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. I was like, I can't believe I have to pay for this poor, horrible movie.
Yeah, it really, I think, is designed to deter people from watching it, because you're going to see that it is on your streaming service or on your download service, whatever, Google Play Store, Apple Store, whatever. It's available for a price that seems a little too high for a rental, and then you see the reviews and you're like, nah, I'm gonna scroll past that. I think that's actually a good strategy if they're not implementing that already, to keep people from watching bad movies. Make them too expensive, and then you don't have to worry about people trying to buy them, and go just direct people to the good stuff instead.
Yeah, Amazon's like, we're gonna put it at $3.99 because we don't want anybody to accidentally pay for this.
Nope. Oh man. Well, Valerie, as much as I did hate this movie, I am glad that we got to share some hatred over it. So thank you for bringing this into my life.
As everyone knows, hatred is best when it's shared.
Yes. It's the holiday
Only in
season.
fun
Let's
purposes.
share. What a wonderful gift that we've given ourselves.
Oh, truly. I'm going to watch a good movie tonight to cleanse my palate. I haven't seen it yet, and I'm going to watch Glass Onion tonight. I can't wait.
Glass Onion is very fun.
I can't wait.
I can't wait to I can't wait for everybody to see that. It's a very good time.
Have you seen Violent Night, by the way, yet?
No.
We saw it the other night. It's so fun.
I hear it's really fun. I was not sold based on the trailers. I thought it was going to be too. I just was like, all right, they're trying really hard. It's clear, and and from all the reviews that I've heard, it's not that. It's better than that, which I'm heartened by.
Yeah, there's like parts where you're like, oh, all right, this is a little sloppy, but it's fun. Like you just go and it's one of those movies, just fun.
Well, I love fun, so I'm gonna have to check that out. Valerie, where can the listeners check out your other work and stuff you got going on if they are interested?
Yeah, you can find me online on Instagram, still Twitter for the moment. We'll see at Valerie_Tosi. Website's ValerieTosi.com. I have all my road dates and stuff if you want to come see me. I have a podcast myself. It's myself and Suba Argawal from was a writer for Jim Jeffries, and our podcast is called Family Gems, where we talk about family disasters and weird family stories, and it's very fun. So you can find that wherever you get your podcast.
Having heard both Suba and Valerie's acts, I guarantee there is a lot of stuff in that podcast that is definitely worth your time to listen to. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter, Instagram, all the socials. You can find Blockbusting at Blockbusting Pod on all the socials. And if you like the show, consider subscribing on Patreon. You get access to bonus episodes, bonus content. Throw in $5 a month. You get access to my private streaming library, JFlix, which Welcome to Marwen is getting deleted from as soon as this episode is finished being recorded. I would not subject any of you to that, so don't you worry.
That's a good man.
I do what I can. I do what I can for my fans. Valerie, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Happy to do it. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.